So what's going on, guys? My name's Chopper, and welcome everybody back to today's video. And guys, what we're going to be going over today is every single brand new location on Erangel Remastered. Now, you may have caught my video a couple of weeks ago talking about all of these secret locations that were found in Erangel Remastered when it came out on the test server, but now, since it's going to be shipped to live servers, there's even more locations that were not on the previous build. So we're going to be going through all of them today. Knowing a lot of these locations and seeing what they fundamentally have to offer is going to change the way you play Erangel, so it's really important that you know about these. But if you guys do go on to enjoy today's video, then a like rating would be very much appreciated. If you're excited for Erangel Remastered, then make sure to go ahead and drop a like. And of course, if you are new to this channel, make sure you do subscribe so you don't miss out on any more Battlegrounds content that you're going to want to stick around for. In addition to the new locations we're going to be looking at, we're also going to go over the last ones that were discovered in the test server, because those locations have actually changed since we last looked at them, which is pretty interesting. But we're going to get a good overview of what all of these locations have to offer and then which ones have changed. So without further ado, guys, let's get into it. So the first new location we're going to take a look at today is located just outside of Severny, and it's near the houses that have the secret entrance in it, which we're going to check out as well. But this new little compound has been added. Instead of being just a flat field like it used to be in the original Erangel, there's certainly a lot more going on here now. You can see that a complete trench has been dug out. There's boxes and equipment everywhere. There's trucks and vehicles that are laying around, along with some anti-air guns. And then you're also going to know that there is a bunker right here with a door that seems to have a tunnel behind it. However, I will say a lot of these tunnels that have been added into the map don't really have anything behind it. Some of these tunnels that are located in these new locations, if you go behind them, they appear that they dig down into the ground and they could lead into some kind of secret area. However, most of these tunnels don't really go anywhere, and it looks like they just use the model of the tunnel to the one that actually connects to the real storage area underground in Erangel. So it's probably just the same model used over, and they didn't want to end up cutting it off. However, that being said, just because there's no secret areas with these tunnels yet, that doesn't mean that there couldn't possibly be very soon, because they could easily add some kind of small Easter egg to open one of those bunker doors and then get into a new secret area that we haven't seen before. It's entirely possible that new areas could be patched in at their discretion, so that's something that we're going to keep an eye on. But the next area we're going to be checking out is near the Quarry. Now, this has got a complete overhaul with a ton of new features added to this area. And what you're also going to notice, which I think is really fascinating, is the fact that a lot of these warehouses now have the 1968 time mark all over these warehouses. And it's not just in the Quarry, multiple buildings within Erangel have this as well. And so what we can determine from this is the fact that in the original trailer that we watched the other day, 1965 was the original year of the Erangel attack, basically. And so these structures had to be put up 3 years later. But what doesn't make sense to me is that it seems like from the trailer that 1965 was the year that the child was left alone on Erangel as the lone survivor. But if these were put up 3 years later, then who built them? Either way, we'll talk about that more in a future video. But the rest of the Quarry has got a complete remaster, truly. And it's probably still not going to be one of the most popular locations to land to, but it's certainly worth going to now, I think. Now, the next new location we're going to be checking out is two-part, actually. We're going to get a quick update on the prison area, which we suspected could be a new secret area, but in this build, it appears that nothing is still behind this rail cart system. So, but that's something we'll still keep an eye on, as it looked like something could potentially be behind there. But what you're going to notice is if you come over here across the street of the prison, there's now an entire defense setup laying around where there just was flat land before. You can see more AA guns. There's actually a couple of tanks as well, which is awesome. There's a even bigger dugout trench than the one that we saw earlier. And then here's a really good example of the bunkers that I was talking to you about earlier. It looks like these can be opened or at least gone through, but what you're going to notice when you free cam it is that it has a tunnel down underground, but it doesn't lead to anywhere. And it's likely that these will probably not be able to be open, even though they kind of do look very suspicious. And of course, something to keep in mind with all of these new locations is that, there is going to be some loot spawns here. So these are places that could be worth going to, or at least fighting in if you need extra stuff. The next new location we're going to look at is found in Kamesh Key. That means this place now has two secret locations, and these crates have been added, which are kind of draped over with leaves and stuff. And when you go inside of this, what you're going to notice is that this is another one of these resistance hideouts, and you can see that all over the map there is other spots of interest plastered all over the wall and on that map. And what I find so fascinating about this one in particular is that this hideout is not located in a house. It's not even located in a basement. It's just a couple of crates put together, and then inside the interior of those crates is a complete hideout. And then you can cross over to the next portion of this room, and you're going to see even more. There's a workbench. There's more of these freedom flags everywhere. So this is clearly what's going on here. And then what I mentioned earlier about the other secret location in Kamesh Key, this one has actually changed since we last saw it. So if you go down in the basement again, it appeared at first last time we saw this building that this was a base of operations for the military, right? There was studio TVs and there was eyeball flags everywhere, but it seems like now that's no longer the case. This room literally entirely switched factions, and then these studio TVs that used to be in here here were replaced with the workbench, and then the big map has been replaced as well. Like, it's all different from the last build that we saw as far as I remember. I don't know, I found that kind of weird because I liked the idea of the military having their own like little secret basement in just a random house in this map, but it looks like this is another resistance hideout from what it appears to be, so that's kind of cool to see. Now, we have another new location to look at, and this is outside of Pochinki in those wheat fields. Now, you remember in old Erangel, this was a completely flat wasteland, and if somebody had a good shot and you were out in this kind of area where it's just completely flat, then you were basically dead. But now it has been cut out. There are trenches, there are even vehicles that look very similar to BRDMs. There's also going to be probably quite a bit of loot here if you're able to pick up the entire trench area, so this might be a place that you want to consider fighting in, at least because the combat here seems like it's going to be pretty good. But yeah, it's very important to keep in mind that this area in particular is no longer just this completely flat wheat field, and you now have this entire structure that's dug out with trenches and mortar crates and everything. It's definitely going to make traversing through vehicles significantly more difficult. The next new location that I think you guys will like can be found on the northern beaches and also the eastern beaches of Erangel. Instead of these just being regularly flat with nothing on them, now you can see that there's a little bit of defense set up, there's an AA gun, and then you also have like these gunner box buildings that have like this tiny little hole that you can see through. Now, I haven't been able to test if you can shoot through these in game, so I'm gonna have to look into that, but this would be pretty hard to pick somebody off in if you could. But inside these buildings, you will find that military flag, of course, and then you'll also find a full flag of the dictator that's hung up inside of here that looks a little bit deteriorated, but it's a really nice looking building regardless, and it'll probably have some loot in it as well, actually, in game. I'm not sure how much playtime these are going to end up seeing, but they're going to be certainly useful if you end up getting like an odd circle that lands on the beach or something, which could potentially happen, so this is something to keep in mind. The next location we're going to look at is the military base. Now, inside of the military base itself with these buildings and structures, not a lot has changed since the last build, but around the military base, so much has been redone. Boneyard of Plains is a lot more filled in now and can genuinely be used as cover instead of just being like putting a target on yourself. Also, outside, some more missile silos have been put in with like some blast shields and everything like that, which is an area that doesn't see a lot of playtime, and I don't think still will after this, but it's a cool supplemental feature to having this environment. Not only the immediate area around the military base itself has changed and had things added, but also the beach kind of near the bridge has had some of these attack functions added. And now I will say it definitely feels a lot more like a real military base, as it should. I will say that this new layout should make the island circles way more fun to play out now, since there's actually a couple of places that could be power positions and just way more interesting terrain overall. So the next location we're going to look at is in the Lumberyards near the forest, just opposite of Little Milta. And you can see just by going on here, there is a little bit of a defensive kind of thing set up, some trenches, pretty standard stuff. And then what you'll also notice all the way in the back is that we have another one of these tunnel bunkers. And this is the first one that I discovered when I was going around and looking at these places. And the way that these are designed, it really just looks like there's something secret behind this door that you can get behind it. But again, it's covered up in dirt. It's just the actual terrain itself. And then if you free cam behind it, there's nothing to see, unfortunately. But I hope PUBG, at least with a couple of these tunnels, maybe adds like a little bit of a hold up or some kind of bunker that you can loot. Or if not even loot, just have some Easter egg stuff for us to find. That could be pretty nice. The next location we'll quickly take a look at is the spawn island. And a little bit has been added to this, you know, some of these defensive barriers set up, some AA guns, just a little bit of supplemental things to give some more life to the aesthetic of this island. But as far as like actual new rooms or anything like that to find, I didn't see anything in particular. Now, but what I do want to bring up is that a couple of patches ago on original Erangel, an update came out which took away the loot on the spawn island, meaning there was no point to go here as there was nothing to find really anymore. So I wonder if in updating this, then they're going to make loot spawn again back on this island. We'll have to go back and check when it hits live servers, but I'd like to be useful again. I don't know. There needs to be a reason that somebody would want to go back to the spawn island, and if you take away all instances of loot, then there's literally no purpose of using this. So at least just having a little bit of stuff spawn here can make all the difference in the world. Now, the next location we're going to check out is just by the plane crash site in the middle of the map, essentially, and you can see that there's like these kind of encampments put together, and these are going to have some loot spawns as well. Another case where there's a tunnel where there's nothing behind it, which seems to be the case with almost all of these. And this is pretty cool because it's just an area that was unused that now has some stuff in it. And then just if you go above the hill over to the plane crash site, this has been redone as well, and honestly it looks a lot better. It's even extended. It looks way more natural. I absolutely love the way that this entire area was designed. It looks great. When it comes to loot, I'm not sure exactly what kind of stuff is going to be spawning here, but it may be worth checking out if you stumble across it. Next location is one of these bunkers by the mansion, which is pretty much the same setup as the one we looked at previously, but I want to talk to you guys about is the new feature that they added, which is the turntable. Now, this is something that an item that will spawn randomly on Erangel that will play music, and as far as I'm aware, it can be found literally anywhere on the map. And so if anybody from PUBG is watching this, what I really recommend you do with the turntable, it can still play music as well, but what would be incredible is that if this thing would play like radio messages. Imagine using either the turntable itself or if they add some kind of radio system, but imagine you can kind of find a transmission that was either from the military or this resistance that could give a really clear-cut message and an insight into what happened at this island. I think that's an absolutely amazing idea. It's something that Zombies has done all the time in the past and really helped people get invested in that story, was finding these radios. So I think that would be an amazing idea for this map, and I really hope that that happens at some point. Regardless, the next location I want to show you is just outside of the ferry pier, a little bit up north, and then what you're going to see is that inside of the forest now, it has been completely bombed with mortars, and there are like severe trenches that are dug out into this, along with some extra defensive structures, and even a tank just sitting here. And this is another area that was essentially unused now, but now has a little bit more life added to it, so it's great. You'll love to see that. And another location, just in case you missed it the last time, is the shelter redo. So this has gotten a complete remaster and looks almost nothing like the original warehouse. This is located in the middle of the map as well, and it looks a lot more well done this time around. You actually have paintings in here. You have both of the flags hung up, the military and also the resistance. You have a nice little kind of 3D model print of the Erangel map. So if you haven't already visited this location in your game, I highly recommend this is one that you check out and compare to the old Erangel, because it is just not the same at all, but I greatly prefer this version to the old. But finally, guys, the last significant location we're going to take a look at, I have saved the best for last. Now, you guys are probably familiar with the area coming just off of the bridge to the military base, where you have this gas station on the corner, and then just across the street from that, there is a, small house with a lighthouse in the back. So you guys know this area pretty well, the map. It's a fairly popular spot. But if you go behind this wall a little bit into the forest, just behind the gas station, there is a new warehouse that has been added, but this is no ordinary warehouse. You can see that there's a number 40 that is plastered right on the front of this, which is very fascinating. We'll look into that later, but upon entering this warehouse, what you're going to notice immediately is that this is another resistance hideout, but this has more detail to this one than all of the other hideouts for sure. Come over to the left side and look at the table, and what you're going to see is that there's literally just an AWM on this table. There's a couple M16s, you got some ammo laying around, like you have pictures and stuff, you have a pan, you literally have also a level 3 helmet just sat there on the workshop table. There's some drinks just laying around. Like, it looks like this was clearly one of the biggest hideouts for the resistance. At least it was kind of like maybe used as a range where they were just kind of testing out weapons and stuff. And what you'll also see in the middle is there is a printing press and then a radio station on the side to communicate with some of these other resistance bunkers as well. And the printing press that can be found in the middle is a clear representation of the fact that this is one of the many sources where these posters that are strung up all over the map are coming from. And this one was really cool to see to me because it was absolutely unique as compared to all of the other places in Erangel Remastered. But this is certainly a place to check out, and it's absolutely going to have loot in here as well. So definitely go give this a look if you haven't already. But anyways, guys, that is going to be all the new significant locations in Erangel Remastered. There are a couple of new ones that we didn't cover that are just like kind of more little defensive setups that I didn't think were really worth noting, but they're additional to this map. Some terrain has been adjusted and things like that, but nothing too major. All of the noteworthy stuff has been included in this video, but Erangel Remastered, I'm literally so happy with. I'm blown away that they managed to take an original map that, kind of had this special magic to it that made people fall in love with PUBG, and then they kept it up even in a newer version of the map. So let me know your thoughts on all these new areas down below in the comment section. Let me know what you thought of the video. Make sure you do drop a like if you guys enjoyed it. Of course, subscribe if you are brand new and you haven't done already, and also go follow me on Twitter. Link will be down below inside the description. But I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you all on the next live stream or the next video. Take it easy, guys, and peace out.